Salutations, kindred souls. Welcome to another episode of Lux Martin Enlightenment. I'm Lux, and on this channel we talk about how wisdom, healing, and integration are the tools to your enlightenment. Today we're going to talk about how your light will irritate some others. We're going to talk about how as you grow, expand, and shine, you're going to ruffle some feathers. Not only is that not a bad thing, it's what's supposed to happen, and I want to talk about how to navigate that in a loving, graceful, and authentic way, both for yourself and others. I'd like to start by pointing out that in any area of life that you choose to grow in, like the areas I talk on in this channel of mind, intellectual, psychology, body, all things human, carcass, and spirit, your relationship to divinity, you get to choose where you want to grow and expand at any and all areas of that at any given intensity. And at some point, the work you do in any of those areas is going to provide results. You should start to notice when you decide to walk every day and lose 20 pounds. You should start to notice when you speak to others differently than you used to speak to. You will start to notice when you observe the sovereignty and the divinity of all things happening around you in your life as you build a relationship with your God. And so will others. Other people are going to notice the results of the changes you're making in life. There are plenty of people in your world that are going to be excited for you, happy with you, synergize with the progress and the changes you're making, regardless of whether they are or not. There are lots of people out there that can be happy and excited for you in that growth and expansion. However, it is inevitable that you will cause some tension, some friction, some ruffling between you and others around you that don't quite care to observe that these are your new changes. This is your new set point. So what we're going to do is start by understanding what that is and why it is. And then we're going to talk about some real life examples of where that shows up in life. And then we're going to talk about how to integrate and move through that with love and respect, both for yourself and other people that you're in navigation with. The reality of growth, expansion, awakening in all things, not just spiritually, in all ways that you decide to grow, improve, expand yourself, is that personal growth naturally shifts your energy, your energetic set point. And your friends, family, and coworkers at some point are going to notice what you are doing, whether they respond positively or not so positively, is your new energy acts as a mirror. It exposes patterns in others that they may or may not be ready to see. Just like I talked about in my previous episode about everyone and everything in your life can be a mirror, but you are the mirror keeper. You are also participating in the mirroring of something to someone else about themselves. And so in your connection with them, in your orchestration of all that is your life, when you are growing and expanding and doing your thing for you, it will be inevitable that you will reflect to someone else where they are or are not observing this lack thereof of expansion in that particular area of their life. You're absolutely called to do that. There is nothing wrong with that. It's part of what we came down to do here in this human existence, is mirror back to each other how we are and are not growing and expanding. And we all get to do something different about that. But we're going to start with the basic foundational belief system that I'm mirroring things back to you and you are mirroring things back to me. In my natural growth and expansion of who I am, it is inevitable that people are going to notice positively and notice not so positively this new set point, this new energetic baseline that I carry myself at. And you are essentially going to trigger others in your growth and expansion. And it's not to say that there is any sort of hierarchy or any superiority attached to that, because your growth, your expansion is uniquely yours. The way you choose to grow and expand in this life will never look identical to anyone else's. A great example would be how someone can choose to take the fitness level or take the human body wellness approach to the epitome of wellness and goodness for your body and taking care of yourself and good physique and fine-tuning your human carcass as well as one can possibly do. but still being a crappy communicator in relationships, or still not having a relationship with your God that you could have, and so we all pursue the rabbit holes differently. And so all of this is not to say that there is some sort of superiority or hierarchy to the triggering you cause in someone else when you decided to do this thing and somebody else isn't ready to see that in you. It's not that you are now better than them in one way, shape, or form. It's just to simply observe that you are showing them an area of themselves that they are not ready to meet themselves in yet, or that they are uncomfortable meeting themselves in. Yeah, whether that's losing 20 pounds or speaking more eloquently and authoritatively, or building a deeper relationship with divinity. At some point, the way you grow and expand is going to show someone else where they could observe that. They get to choose whether they want to do that or not. So here's where we're going to start to make this distinction of, what do we do with this information? What do we do about this baseline fact that my growth and expansion will trigger others, will ruffle feathers, will mirror back to others where they may not be ready to grow? You are only responsible for your authenticity, for the care of yourself, for the way you want to manage your growth and expansion. You are never responsible for others' discomfort or what they want to do about it. You're not responsible for their response to your growth and authenticity. I will make a caveat to that later on in this video, but we're not going to go there right this hot second. Understanding that resistance from others is proof of your growth. So in actuality, it's not like, yeah, it's a little pat on the back, but it's not to stick it to anyone. The fact that your life is changing, things are not staying status quo, is proof that your growth is producing results. And that's actually what we want, isn't it? When our human is ready to embrace new and our nervous system is ready to expand for more, it's going to feel a little wobbly. It's going to feel a little weird because things are not the way they used to be. And that's actually okay. And that's a good thing. And as we go to accept and embrace that new baseline set point, we're going to go through our own discomfort with that, as well as the people around us are going to go through their own level of discomfort. Acknowledging that that's just proof that your growth is working is empowering and encouraging. It's signaling that you're reaching a higher level of self, that your expansion is great. It's what you're here to do. The fact that things aren't staying the same is a good thing. And then being fully present and radiant as yourself, as your new self, whether that's a 1% change because you decide to drink a gallon of water every day, or you take 5 minutes to journal or meditate every day, letting those results radiate from you will inspire, provoke, or challenge others. And it's all part of the process. It's all part of this human carcass experience we're doing in connection with each other. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about practical examples of where this shows up in your life, because maybe you need a realistic grounding understanding of where this is going to pop up or show up in your life instead of it being this theoretical concept. I'll give you some basic examples and then some very real life examples in my life of, for example, when speaking your truth in a relationship makes somebody else defensive. When you set a boundary that others aren't ready to respect, that's a really challenging one, because people are no longer getting access to you that they expect to continue to get access to you, and that absolutely will ruffle feathers. Pursuing goals, practices, routines that encourage your growth and help stabilize your new direction and set point are going to inevitably, whether you say them out loud or not, highlight differences between your path and others' paths. Just the way you do your life and the way you no longer sync up as frequently with others is going to show itself apparent at some point. In my life, the very real-time examples that are coming up right here now as I'm filming this video is noticing how family members or very close loved ones of mine absolutely cannot take suggestion or positive criticism from me because we are too close and because they are at a point where they are very comfortable holding on to old versions of me that I no longer resonate with. And so we often have uncomfortable conversations, or I just choose to make space from those conversations because we're not in a place where someone can hear what I have to say from this new authentic version of me, from this Lux Lux.0 version of me, because this family member or this loved one is very used to an older version of me in which they could be combative with, defensive with, call out something that this older version of me would do, that contradicts the advice or the suggestions I'm giving currently. So noticing that I have to create space in those relationships because we no longer resonate in older versions of us the way we used to. Another really, really big one is the immense separation and turbulence it's causing with my twin and I. For example, making a huge narrative and a story and a humongous problem out of something very minor, and what should have been no big deal at all. Things that become a reason to create space, protection, avoidance in a very painful and uncomfortable way, in a very sometimes unrealistic and illogical way. People will scratch and claw for distance, for combativeness, or for like a way to protect themselves from the discomfort of what you're causing by being this new you. And it can be very heartbreaking and very lonely at times. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. And then lastly, something that I've not only noticed a little bit all along in this journey, but also very recently, that has also been poignantly highlighted by my career in the insurance industry, is that connections in general, friendships, work relationships, other business or less relational aspects of your life, connections not connecting, or communication not really syncing up, or things falling through, plans canceling or rescheduling, and noticing that it doesn't really have to be about anything other than maybe you're just not really aligned at this time. The insurance industry really highlighted to me that the harder I pushed and fought and either begged and pleaded or like bullied my way essentially into communication and connection, almost always got me a negative result. Forcing a connection point to happen, or forcing communication just to get a result or to try to get somewhere, very, very often not only felt grimy, it made me feel really grimy and insecure and horrible about what I was doing to navigate this relationship or to try to get this communication and reciprocation, but it almost always resulted in a negative output between, something not working out between me and a prospective client, or an argument between a friend and I, or something like that, because I forced what wasn't in alignment. And so I noticed that as I kind of don't force a meetup with a friend, or don't call back, or don't reach out a bunch of times with texts because haven't really heard from them, haven't really understand why we can't sync up. In my learning to just let it be, there's a lot less friction and tension, not only in my life, but in those relationships and connections right now, because not forcing there to be friction. Understanding that if it's meant to come about again, if it's meant to sync up again, we will align and we will connect as our energies and our goals and motivations sync back up again. But letting those things ebb and flow, and letting people, I want to almost equate it to like a kite on a string, as in like when the wind picks up, sometimes you let the string go a little bit so that you don't tear the kite, so that things come and go, and people ebb and flow as they need to. And doing that with a little bit of ease and grace and spaciousness allows for relationships to not necessarily break under the weight of that tension. And so now we're going to move forward into, what are we going to do about this? How do we continue being who we want to be, and loving our growth and expansion, and being this new person that we are becoming, whether it's 1% at a time or profound shifts at a time, and navigating the tension that it's causing in our life, or the disruption that it's causing either in our life, in our routines, or in connection with others, with some grace and respect and love for both ourselves and others. The very first thing I want to say about this, that to me is the highlight of the freedom of doing this, the freedom of doing it with love and confidence and empowerment, is asking yourself, am I separating this growth from ego? If you are a person where you are aware of the fact that your distinction or your awareness of this friction that's causing doesn't make you better or superior than anyone else, it just means that you're going to a place that someone else isn't quite ready to meet you there yet, even if it's just in this one very particular area of life. And that Also, your awareness that no one has to do it like you're doing is kind of, to me, that checkbox of, no, I'm just being who I need to be. I'm shining how I need to shine. I'm doing what I need to do for me, understanding that it's inevitably causing friction and mirroring to those around me. It's causing some discomfort, but I'm not doing it from an egoic, authoritative lashing towards someone else of, you need to tolerate my, strong, poignant, abrasive words, or you need to deal with the fact that this is how it should be, or you need to deal with the fact that this is how I am and you can't keep up with it. Checking yourself from, am I speaking, carrying myself, and emanating my energy in a place of love and respect for myself and others is truly one of the most powerful ways you can carry yourself. It's a level of authority and energetic sovereignty that I feel like not enough people embrace in this world right now. So to me, that's a really special distinction, because I've spent a lot of time asking myself how to find the balance between dimming and suppressing myself to make others comfortable, or being too out there and too abrasive and too forward and too cutting with my words, or my need to step out into my authenticity and sovereignty to the point where I do undo abrasive damage to others. And so I've really been cautious and caring of, how do I hone that in and how do I balance being authentically me with love and kindness and respect for both myself and others. And to me, that is just the chef's kiss of how you navigate this tension of growth and expansion that others are noticing, is asking yourself, am I doing this from humility and of service mindset and of love and respect for myself and others? Or am I doing this from a place of, I need to show somebody else that I know best, that I know the right way? And so when you do this self-check, I really feel like you're in a place to navigate both your life and this tension in a beautiful way, in about the best possible way you can. So if you're there, good for you. Let's keep going. Now we're going to put a bow on it and wrap it up with, how do we integrate this in real life? How do we use it as a tool? How do we build upon this belief system and use it to walk forward in our more enlightened state, navigate in a purposeful, loving way? Understanding that when someone reacts negatively, which it can happen on a daily basis, the daily integration that I constantly encourage us to do is a daily, regular self-check-in of, what's going on here? What am I observing here? This self-awareness. This interaction, this tension is making me feel some kind of way. Am I about to suppress myself to ease the tension? Or am I going to hold the line and shine, knowing that it will cause some disruption, but I can navigate this lovingly? Just the check-in, just the navigating and asking yourself, what is this making me feel and see? What do I want to do about it? Do I need to step back? Do I need to make space? Do I feel like I want to suppress or dim my light, dim myself to ease the tension? Or am I called to hold this line gracefully and lovingly and let this tension be present so that it can transform me, this person, our relationship in the way it was meant to? And with, in the divinely designed way it was meant to, not in an egoic, authoritative way of, I'm going to show you how this is supposed to go. Something else I would call to ask you to contemplate as you go to try to integrate this new philosophy in your life is practicing for the way your human is going to respond to this. So whether that's journaling or kind of imagining what would happen if you hold this line, hold this boundary, say this thing, shine this way, knowing that it's going to cause a response in somebody else, but that you're not going to step back or suppress yourself for who you are. Be prepared to let your human be a little uncomfortable in holding that line. When you hold a boundary and someone is really upset with you that you have this newfound boundary that they don't want to respect, it's going to be hard to stand there and take their discomfort, even their combativeness, their dismissiveness, their judgmentalism or criticism, the fight that their body and their ego and the fight that they want to put up for this boundary that you've laid. And it's okay that it's scary and uncomfortable and hard. I would ask you to not spend too much time in your head about it, because then we can go there way too far down the hole of coulda, woulda, shouldas, but to accept the fact that when you hold that line and when you shine in new ways and when you don't back down on your growth and expansion for others because it makes them uncomfortable, your human is going to get a little uncomfortable too. And you are also being called to stabilize yourself and move through that discomfort of bracing yourself for the new human responses both your human and somebody else's human is going to have in your growth and expansion and the way it mirrors back to others. Lastly, a little piece of integration is some sort of affirmation, some sort of positive reminder to yourself, whether you're going to write it on the bathroom mirror or find a sticker to put on your planner or your water bottle or something like that. But the continual reminder and reassurance to self that my growth, my light, my expansion is a gift. It's not a threat to me or anyone else. This is for me. It's not specifically to do anything for or to anyone else. My shining, my growing, my expansion, and its triggering to other people is not to anyone, it's for anyone. It's for me, it's for them in the kindest, loving, most loving, authentic way possible. Me doing me is what I should be doing. That is my responsibility, and it is their responsibility to navigate the way it affects them. That's their opportunity, and that is the distinction I make between I get to do my life this way. No one has to do it my way. They get to do whatever they want about this triggering. They get to grow or not grow in whatever ways they want to, just like I get to. And so using this self-check-in and this continual new navigation process of observing, being aware, and holding these new lines, these new boundaries in your growth and expansion becomes a tool for empowerment. So the way we're going to shift out of victim mentality, for example, feeling like this makes you a loner or a black sheep, or feeling victimized by the separation that your growth is causing between you and others, because that's where I was very much in many places throughout my healing journey, is feeling like I so no longer resonate with other people that I used to be in connection with, that I feel alone. Turning that mindset around into a tool of, I feel alone because I'm an energetic pioneer of what this looks like. And again, not in an egoic place, but in a, I feel so good doing what this is doing for me, that its irritation that it's causing to others, simply in just being me, is meant to encourage others in the opportunity of how they get to do it for themselves, however they want to do it for themselves. Not necessarily my way, but choosing to be that pioneer energetically of, this is what it looks like when I take better care of myself. This is what it looks like when I spend more time in devotion to my connection to God. This is what it looks like when I spend more time improving my human existence. And I'm happy about that. I'm aware of the fact that you're not so happy about it. That's okay. I'm going to keep doing what I got to do and showing myself and others just through my sheer doing that it gets to be like this. It gets to be this good, and I get to continue to enjoy it. And then you get to do whatever you want about it. And again, lastly, separating ego from your growth with humility and service mindset, in knowing that I firstly do this for me because I'm continually making the next best choices for me, my growth, my expansion, my human existence. And knowing that in my divinely orchestrated connections with others, the feathers it ruffles is meant to ruffle, and that I can continue to navigate and be me lovingly, kindly, authentically, unapologetically, knowing that we will navigate this, and I'll do what I got to do and they'll do what they got to do. And I'm going to stay in my lane and be responsible for the growth that I'm managing. And they get to do exactly that same thing as well. So in closing, I hope that you come away with this newfound confidence and empowerment of how your light, your growth and expansion, whether that's mind, body, spirit, will illuminate what others aren't ready to see. You will mirror to people. Shine anyway. Own your brilliance. Own your healing. Own your new set point. Your presence, your new energetic presence, is a catalyst for growth, both for yourself and for the world around you and the connections around you. And that's exactly where you're meant to be. You can navigate that discomfort with love, respect, and sovereignty for yourself and everyone else it ruffles, with kindness, with love, and without suppressing or dimming yourself, because you're here to firstly live for you and do right by you and enjoy your life. And in your shining and in your enjoying, you will naturally ruffle and then hopefully encourage and propel other people onwards towards that version of that for them. So, yeah, keep seeking, keep softening, keep showing up. Remember, the light you're looking for is the light you already are. Take care.